Virginia Tech. Yeah, Virginia Tech. Yeah, grew up in Virginia, went to Virginia Tech, and then came down here for the early stage in '05. Yeah. My focus is kind of logistics type stuff. So kind of a lot of the tech-enabled service kind of stuff.
So it makes sense.
Yeah, right, exactly.
What company are you with now?
I'm actually one of my things out here this week.
No, it's not. I have my company now is called Local Aviation. It's really early stage. Well, no, but we're doing getting the craft beer. So we're also
Doing face-to-face
retail execution. So kind of big data.
How do we get you the sponsor?
I'm not carrying my weight with this sponsor. It's got its perks, finally. Finally a tech company that's got some cool perks.
Really good craft.
Yeah. Well, and frankly, it's quite it's like anything compared to San Francisco and California, but it is big. It's a growing space.
Yeah.
It's cool.
It's pretty fantastic.
So,
What is Nova saying?
I don't know, actually. That's interesting. Sound good?
you've never checked it? Yes.
Well, I check it about. Well, it's always there, so it's in my inbox. I know all those by heart. I'm sure I've looked to you guys up plenty of times. But I'm kind of trying to it's people with customers sometimes, like buyers who know what to do for demos, you get a little dry. That's the best part. Pretty cool to watch that. So, yeah, do you guys have any
Marketing. Can't really be a good product.
Yep. Yeah. Very
How did you get your photography? How did you get before you were?
Yeah, so it's pretty crazy. Especially super science. I was an engineer working on data centers. Silicon Valley. That's like what I was doing. So, even more boring version of it.
But you weren't in the bottom of the basement.
I totally was. Yeah. Like, I mean, like, I see this right next to the data center, and I'd have to go in and out of it, and, like, it was actually in the basement of the building, so, like, it was dark, and, like, nobody would go down there, like,
You were a writer for Silicon Valley or something?
I know, right? Yeah. And it was, like, in that room, like, you walk by it, like, hot, cold, so you're walking down the aisle, you have to find the right route.
Did you get lost like the movie?
Oh, yeah, totally. Those things are massive.
Aisle after aisle.
Yeah. It sounds like you're just in like a giant swarm of bees.
Yeah. Everyone's
So you started, you were there at some point.
Yeah, so I went, so I was an engineer and like a senior engineer. It's actually kind of funny. So I kind of knew I wanted to get into like Salesforce. HPC is confident in Vegas. I wanted to go there, and so I submitted my papers and I ended up kind of working with and they had a position open up in work. Next thing you know, like with the executive center to the headquarters, so all the big companies would come to the keynote, and we had this really good place where you can get lunch and like have you doing a presentation. they gave me the opportunity to give those, and I was like, I totally want to do that too. So then I started working in sales. When I was in business school, and then we started a blog post marketing. Then there was kind of a reshuffling of sales, so it became their enterprise sales. And it was just so much fun. I said, I don't really want to stay here. Like, I want to try to
Is that where you got the experience?
exactly. Before we saw the opportunity, because we were targeting the top 10,000 Alexa websites that are targeting this guy. Yeah. Yeah. Right. We can either email all of them like now. We can actually try to figure out a way to get to them. We tried like emailing them like once. We tried like giving them swag. We tried like phone. Like, the only thing that really worked incredibly well for us was exactly. That was exactly the problem. It's like, how do you take that employee? Even if it was positive ROI, like, create some operational problems for a sales organization. So no, it's expensive. It's just not pricing. So that was a lot of stuff. Basically, we weren't thinking about like AI or thing that we do is basically so is there a way to do it in software or at least get very close to that was, we like started pitching it, started the company before the idea. How to actually do that with yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So if you do that one video segment, we got like one of the companies to demo on like 10,000 people, and we're just demoing like the slide deck, like animated mouse cursor moving, like. So we didn't have anything. All kind of waving our hands a little bit, telling a story. So we just played that.
You can test it.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you, is product awesome? Product yeah. Stand or like sit on a high chair.
You don't have
Philip, did you get some soda in the back? Good.
Yeah, did you make any stock? When do you think that should
You're starting to do like a little script.
Yeah.
If you want, go for it. You go for it. Yeah, I could.
Would you stay here in Austin or go back to
I guess I don't need to talk.
You guys
He just done this by accident combination of just everybody in this. I got it. Goodbye.
All right. Maybe I should ask Sam. Sam.
I bet it's just around here.
Hello? Just going to increase the volume. Is this to increase the volume? Okay. Sure. Is this live streaming too? You can send me.
It's good. Yeah, it's been showing all right. Still cranking. Your operation.
All right. Welcome everyone. My name is Prabhakar Gopalan. This is Roger Colvin and Don Haga. Josh Duncan is our fourth partner. We put together Product Austin every month or other month whenever we find good speakers. Welcome, Will. He's going to give a formal bio and all that. How many of you here are Product Austin members? Great. How many are first timers? Great. Welcome. Let's see. I don't have much to say except come enjoy this talk. And next month we have another event also on AI. It's by the CEO of X.ai. Anybody uses the product X.ai here? One person, Aditya there. He's at the edge of all these things. So, by the way, he's building a fascinating product. I will not say what it is, so you can later after this talk go ask him for a special access. Maybe he'll give you access to the product that he's building here in Austin that uses machine learning, deep learning, and all that stuff. So, so that's it, Roger.
Thanks, Prabhakar. Wanted to mention that tonight's event is sponsored by Product Academy, and you each should have gotten a brochure when you walked in. I'm going to just give you a brief introduction about Product Academy to start things off here. Let me first ask for a show of hands of folks who believe product management is an important function in a company. Okay, that was kind of love that easy one to you there. Now, in the past though, traditional product management is very different from the needs of product management for companies these days. Traditional product management, you never focused on things like quantifying the success of your product, quantifying what's happening as users are going through your product, and actually collecting all of that data and using modern tools in order to do that, with the goal of increasing growth and making much more intelligent product decisions. So Product Academy is actually an 8-week program that turns people into growth product managers so that they can become growth product managers in that high demand field that's now in the technology industry. A lot of companies these days aren't going to let you get away with doing traditional product management. They're looking for growth product management. So we actually have a Product Academy informational session coming up next week on Wednesday, July 20th. And the information is on your brochure, so I won't bore you anymore with that. And without further ado, let me introduce the speaker, Will Dinkel, who is the CEO of Nova.ai. And I'll give you a little bit about his bio, because he just told me, and it's kind of a cool story, so I'm just going to borrow what he said. So he started out, you know, in that Silicon Valley show, the data center and the basement of the data center and the folks wandering through there. He actually started his career at HP in one of those data centers. And then he moved on to Cloudflare, is that the name of the company? He later moved on to Cloudflare, where he was sales manager, right? And made a lot of interesting discoveries about the problems in sales. And that actually translates into his starting Nova.ai and solving some of the problems that he observed sales folks face. So let me turn over the mic to him and let him correct or fill in any blanks.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Do I need the stand-up mic, or am I okay with this? Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah, okay. I'll use this one. Which means I don't need this, right?
You need that? No, the small mics for
I need both. Okay. Well, thank you very much for the warm welcome, and thank you for having me today. Been to Austin a couple times, mostly for bachelor parties, which seems to be the #1 reason people come to Austin, looking around the downtown here. But I'd never gotten a chance to actually see the tech scene and see the city and get off 6th Street and really see the area. And I gotta say, it's pretty exciting what's going on here. It's pretty cool. It's a pretty awesome city. And seeing the ecosystem up close and seeing like HipChat's here and Return Path and Lux, there's a lot of really great companies, and it's pretty cool. So it's pretty fun to be invited here to be in Austin, and thank you so much for having me here today. You guys may or may not know about Nova. We're a pretty small, pretty new company in general, certainly relative to most of the speakers that you guys have had here. How many of you guys had heard of Nova before seeing the listing for this event? Okay, nobody. How many of you looked up Nova before the event and went to our website or looked at my bio? Okay, so a decent number. Just to give you a quick refresh on Nova. Oops, here we go. Okay, so what Nova is we are individualized sales messaging at scale. We've been operating for a 1.5 years. We are a small team. We are seed funded. It's not announced yet. We're growing. If you're good at JavaScript, you like California weather, definitely find me afterwards. And we just completed the Winter 16 batch of Y Combinator a couple months ago. I'm going to talk about a few things today. So I looked at the other videos of different speakers who have been here. The one common thread is they all work for much larger companies and hugely successful companies. So it's a tough act to follow, but I think I can bring a slightly different, unique perspective myself, being the founder of a company, taking it from nothing. And it's kind of fun hopefully it's fun for you guys to hear the story before the ink's dried and kind of hear what's inside my mindset today, what I've learned, where we're at, what we've seen in the AI market. So I'll go through a few things today. I'll try to be brief and keep it to about 30 minutes and then leave time for Q&A, networking, whatever else comes after. I'll go over my background, my first startup very briefly, which you haven't heard of, which failed, Nova.ai, and then general talks about what we've learned building AI products and maybe what I can help transfer to anybody who's thinking about starting an AI startup or is starting an AI startup. Real quick, just to kind of calibrate myself. So who here works in sales and marketing? Okay, good number, about 10. Who works for a startup? Okay, about 20, 30. Is a startup founder of a startup? All right, good number, about 10. And then who here is considering starting or joining a startup? Okay, good number of people. Great. So then what I'll do is I'll just jump right in. So a little bit about my background. So I'm 32. I started programming in the early 90s. It was kind of the pre-internet era. And I don't know if any of you guys recognize this. The way I got started on programming was kind of pre-internet. I actually used these local bulletin board systems, which before the internet, there wasn't like this network of computers that were all together. You actually had to dial in to your local computer, which was at somebody's house and had like 10 phone lines going into it. And then you'd all talk through somebody's computer. Did anybody here use BBSs? All right. Unix. All right. Unix, BBSs, cool. Strong representation. So actually the way I got started programming is I was a lonely kid. And at about 8 years old, I would write scripts that would go out and get experience in these text-based video games, which back then were all the rage and the pinnacle of video game technology in the early 90s. Probably the closest analog today is World of Warcraft, which is much cooler and more fun and more graphical and generally much fancier. I went on to study computer science in college, and I went to a pretty normal, average public school. Computer science wasn't really a big thing around 2000, especially right after the dot-com bust. And actually we had like a salesperson from DeVry come to our high school computer science class and talk to us about different careers, and that actually convinced me to go into computer science as a career. He's like, you should do it, it's good pay, like stable benefits. I was like, all right, computer science. So now of course it's much more accepted, the opportunities are much bigger, so I'm really happy to see today that computer science has become a much bigger thing. Funny anecdote, when I was in college, one of my professors told me, he's like, I don't know why you're studying computer science, because all this is going to be done in Asia in 5 years anyways, and none of you are going to have jobs. So how the world's changed in that regard. My first job out of college, I worked at HP. As mentioned, I was in one of those giant data centers working on effectively the box. I was working on Unix, HA software, and this is a technology that's so boring and so esoteric that you couldn't even Google the languages we were using. You couldn't even Google to kind of learn how to write the code. A lot of it was in like old languages like Corn Shell, and so we actually had like physical books on like how to actually write in these languages and what the syntax was. So like this is way before Ruby docs, this is before Java docs, this is before online specs. It was a pretty interesting experience, and it was a pretty good way to cut my teeth in B2B. One of the things I learned, and I had a mentor who was a VP at the company, and he gave me this advice. I think it would be great advice even now, as I'm in my early 30s in my career. And he said, pretty much try to do anything you can to diversify your experience in your career. So, do marketing, do sales, do engineering, do product management. And it's really hard when you're in that position and you're kind of trying to climb up to take a step back or even go down a little bit or take a lateral to diversify your experience. But now, especially as a startup founder, that is something that's been like huge for me. So the fact that I can pull out Photoshop or Sketch and do some design, the fact that I can write a white paper, or the fact that I can get on a sales call or write some code if need be, like it's really been a tremendous thing for me in my career heretofore, and I'm really thankful for that. So my background. So after I left HP, during my time there, I went from product engineering to marketing to sales, and then I eventually went and got my MBA at HBS. One of my classmates in the back, Peter Vu of Lux, the general manager of the Austin region. Sorry, I'm trying to embarrass him a little bit. I worked at another startup in San Francisco called Cloudflare, an enterprise startup. And then, I had such a good time there. I learned so much. I felt so good about myself that I turned down my offer to stay, and I decided to start my first startup, which was a company called Thread. Now, Thread was a mobile app. It was a prosumer app, which means it was for regular consumers, and the idea was businesses could use it as well. It had this really cool feature, which was you'd log in with your email and it would automatically group people for you. It would identify all your social circles, all your work circles. It would pull all your content together. It made it into like a lightweight mobile chat. And really this was a response to just all the mobile email I was doing, like internal emails especially. I felt very overwhelmed by it. It seemed like a great idea. It was kind of like Slack, except for the runaway success, the multi-billion-dollar valuation, and pretty much everything else that Slack has gone to accomplish. So it was a startup fail, is the conclusion of the story. We operated it for about a year, and then very painfully unwound it and kind of set out to figure out what my next adventure would be. But I learned some interesting stuff from the experience, and it definitely helped me with my experiences since. For one, like, these trends come and go. Like, it used to be like, oh, big data got really hot, like food got really hot. Back then, mobile enterprise was like super hot. And all these companies came up, Layer 1, TechCrunch, Disrupt, they're still operating. But all these companies, there's so many of them that are, maybe they're doing okay, but like it's hard to remember that just a few years ago, this was the next it. They're like, laptops are going to go away, PCs are going to go away, people are going to be using iPads at work and iPhones. And so it's just kind of a reminder, like, trends come and trends go, and like AI is an amazing trend right now, and I think there's a lot of amazing stuff that now we can do with AI, and there's going to be a bunch of amazing businesses to be built. But just like, it's important to kind of keep in mind the fundamentals. Like, I had a friend who worked at one of those companies from this slide, and she was telling me about they did this CIO conference where they pulled in all these CIOs of big companies, and they got them together to talk about this mobile enterprise application. And she said the CIO of Google came up, and he just said, like, why would I want to do work on my phone? Like, I don't want anybody from work on my phone. And it's just kind of one of those things. Like, you got to like sanity check at like the very smallest, very lowest, most customer-centric part of your startup. So what did we mess up there? Well, number one, we didn't really know what our single quantifiable metric and milestone was for the startup. Like, I think it's very important that you have a singular milestone in mind. And this is something that I kind of learned along the way, and it's something that, especially in YC, they really hammer you on. It's like, what's your metric? Is it users? Is it revenue? What's your week over week growth? And that's kind of your rallying call. That's what you build around, is that metric. Number one, knowing the user or the buyer of the product. With Thread, we were like, well, maybe it's for college students, maybe it's for small businesses, maybe it's for nonprofit. We would have been much better off just kind of picking one and figuring out what they needed and kind of forming to fill that need rather than trying to build a product and then, be like a hammer looking for a nail. Are these people buying something that looks like this today? Is everybody going to need to create budget for this new product that you're building? And also, can people actually describe, what do I need to see to actually purchase or use this product if it's a consumer product? So what are the quantifiable metrics for when you're being successful with your product? So when I was in business school, I was in EIR at a venture firm in Boston. And one of the partners told me this, and at the time I didn't really understand it or think much of it, but what he said is, build something people want that you're not sure if you can build, and not the opposite. And like, that has turned out to be like such good advice, because like, user preferences are so fickle, they're so hard to track down, they're so hard to measure, they're constantly shifting. Even what people say they want sometimes isn't really what they want. So if you have to have customer risk or technical risk, it's a lot easier to hang your hat on the technical risk and really focus on that piece if you know that what you're building is going to be worthwhile when you actually build it. So where did Nova come from? Well, so after Thread, I took some time off, looked at a lot of different opportunities. I was actually like interviewing for some different jobs. I was looking at venture jobs. One of my friends, he said, you know, you're not done. Like, you're going to start another startup. I just know it. Like, you have more energy, more passion in you for doing this. And I kind of, you know, I thought about a lot of different things. I looked at a lot of different opportunities. And what I ended up coming back to at the end of the day was an opportunity that I saw when I was at Cloudflare. And which is, we were very data-driven as a sales organization. And something we noticed and something that we measured and tracked was that personalized sales and marketing outreach is just way more engaging. Like, if you hand personalize something, if somebody feels like there's a person at the other end of that email, like it flips a trigger in somebody's brain as far as, you know, how do they respond to that? How do they engage? What part of their, you know, brain lights up? And we saw this very, very clearly in the data that we had. So we knew that worked, but we were doing it by hand. But we realized, like, this is a problem that faces a lot of sales organizations. It's an opportunity and a problem because all sales teams want to be more personalized. They kind of generally know it works, but it's very challenging to scale. You know, sales teams turn over very quickly. So even if you could teach them all to do this, you know, they're going to be turning over. You're going to be constantly retraining your sales team. It's very expensive to implement. A single personalized email can take 20 plus minutes. You better make sure you're targeting the right people. And it's really hard to measure and supervise. If any of you have been sales managers, it's like you have a bullpen of 5, 10, 20 different salespeople. You're trying to track them down. You're trying to instruct them. They're doing these activities all day long. They're putting them in Salesforce. Nobody can really look at those activities. So it's really hard to actually scale something like this when it's completely being done manually. So what we came at this with was the naive question of, you know, I mean, does it have to be completely boilerplate or completely human? I mean, like, software could probably do this, right? I mean, there's got to be a way, like an algorithm that we can write to do this. And so basically, you know, we just kind of set out to try to figure out, you know, could we do that? And this was before people were talking about AI. This was before it kind of became, you know, the movement that it is today, and it was before people really recognized the opportunities in the space. But you know, we were just asking the general question, and later we, you know, discovered there's a lot of AI technologies and technologies that could be described as AI that could fit this bill. So starting the company, we've been around 1.5 years, as I mentioned. And the way we started the company, it was like straight out of the lean startup textbook. Basically, we put up a landing page for this product that didn't exist. We emailed maybe 50 VPs of sales of different technology companies, and we just told them about this product. We said, hey, would you like to actually buy this product that we've made that personalizes emails, you know, automatically? You can't even tell a computer wrote it. It's amazing. It works really well. And we got a huge response. And literally the next day, we were on the phone with the VP of sales at New Relic, and he's like, oh, I really, you know, I want to buy this product. Like, you know, when, show it to me. Like, can I get my hands on it? I said, oh, well, we're still in beta, so, you know, we'll get back to you in a few weeks. I never did get back to him. Sorry, Brian Remington, but I'll reach out to you again soon here. So that's kind of when we knew we were onto something a little bit. We got a great response from the market. We ended up doing this thing called the Launch Festival, where we had a demo pit booth, and we got pulled up on stage to pitch this imaginary product to 8,000 people, and it was very well received. And about this time, we had like some mock-ups. We didn't really have much in the way of a product. And we went and we pitched YC the first time, and you know, basically they're like, come on, like, personalization, sales, I don't really like believe this is even a thing. I don't believe this could ever work. I don't believe anybody would ever buy this. It just doesn't even make sense to us. So for the next about 7-8 months, it was just building product, putting it in people's hands, and just getting you know, getting our butts handed to us. Like, the product wasn't working. It would sound very robotic when it did work. We had a hard time getting good data on people. There was no real, like, clean, accurate data. So it would start, you know, the product would start writing emails that said stuff that was actually inaccurate, or it was targeted at the wrong person. And it was just like this long process of, you know, every week we have a new build, and we set new priorities for the next week, and we just put it in people's hands. We try it. and they generally were very negative, but sometimes people would kind of like it. So as we went on and we just iterated on this week after week after week, and finally about the time of Dreamforce last year, it was like the September, October timeframe, we just started asking ourselves, like, is this ever going to work? Is this even a buildable product that we're working on? And about, it must have been like mid-November, like we got our first customer, and our second and our third and our fourth and our fifth. And finally we had like just a little handful of like precious customers. And we went back to YC and we applied again, and this time we actually got into YC. So I talked a little bit about what that experience was like, and then just kind of talk a little bit about what the different things we've learned along the way are, and then open it up for QA here. So has anybody here ever applied for YC? Okay, a couple people. Is anybody interested in applying for YC, or? Okay, a couple more people. So I'll try to be pretty quick with the YC stuff, but it was a very fascinating experience. So the first thing is, when you apply to YC, like, they have seen more companies than any other investor out there. So if you're doing something like an HR tech solution, they've probably seen 1,000 tools for HR and feedback, and they've seen 100 variations of it that are based on Slack. If you're doing a calendaring app, they've seen probably 10,000 calendaring apps. So I think YC, when they started, they used to talk a lot about teams. They used to talk a lot about, we'll back the right people. But I think now, as they've seen just so many different startups in so many different sectors, I think they have a very refined palette for the actual sector that you're in. So if you're thinking about applying, and this goes for YC and also I think a lot of kind of more seasoned investors, if you can go to somebody who's got a lot of experience in the market, they can usually give you some good bright lines of how that business idea is going to be received based on the other businesses that they've seen that look similar. One great thing about once we got into YC is we went from unknown to known very quickly. We went from 0 inbounds to, at the peak, we were getting 20, 30, 40 inbounds per day. Not all of them were qualified, but just the general buzz of awareness is great. Like, YC gets you a lot of press. It's really a lightning rod for attention. And it was really fantastic in that way. One thing that is kind of dangerous to start thinking is that once you get into YC that you've just kind of been automatically successful. Those who have started a startup or worked in an early stage startup know, like, a startup's kind of like pushing a boulder up a hill. Like, it's like, what have you done for me lately? Like, as soon as you're successful, like, the milestone, the bar gets higher, and you're all in on hitting that next milestone, and it kind of continues and continues and continues. So similar with YC, a lot of companies are pivoting during the batch. Probably 50% of the companies that go through YC are either shut down or pivoted completely within a year. So it's a good accelerator, but sometimes, like, when you accelerate, you figure out you're probably going the wrong direction. The mentorship and the program, the knowledge that they have, the brand, I mean, it's top notch. But if you're going to do a startup, I would say, like, it used to be this way. Like, no longer is YC like the kind of monopolistic early stage investor. Like, there's a lot of very savvy angel investors. There's a lot of savvy early stage capital. There's a lot of investors who will invest before YC. So, if you're looking at YC, I think there's a lot of different options today at the same stage of your company that are worth looking at before and even concurrently. So, switching a little bit into AI products. So, we talk about this a lot. Like, what is an AI product? Is it like a technology? Does it need to be sentient? Does it need to have a persona? And really, the internal definition that we've settled on is AI products perform cognitive tasks that previously could be only done by humans. So, for example, I think, what was it, next week or a couple weeks out, you have X.ai. Well, previously there was no, digital scheduler that ever existed. Amy Ingram, it's like, the personified AI. There's a lot of other AIs that kind of assist with tasks, like help you, buy movie tickets or get information about something or support. We're doing an AI, which is it helps you draft emails and helps write natural language that we think is going to actually resonate and be highly targeted and feel very organic and human. So that's the definition of AI that I like to use. And really, if you peel it back a layer, what this really comes down to is two competences. So one is being able to recognize context from unstructured data. So in our case, take information about a person or a company, kind of understand who that person is, understand the context of why you're reaching out to them, when you're reaching out to them. For something like Amy, it's getting an email of just flat text and being able to actually parse it and structure it and figure out what is actually being asked, what's the actual intent of this message that I'm receiving. And then the other side is something we do, which is origination. So when you see people write things that are successful, you try to remember the little pieces that actually perform well, and you do multivariate regressions and see how those different little snippets and relevant pieces perform so you can reapply them in future contexts. So this is not a great example, but I don't know if you guys saw the Microsoft Twitter bot. Well, the way it got in trouble is it was remembering things that it probably shouldn't have remembered and applying them in context where it probably shouldn't have applied them. So those are the two competences of AI. So how does building an AI company and product differ from building a normal company or product? So there's a guy named Stephen Blank. Some of you guys might be familiar with his work. He wrote a few books, The 4 Steps to the Epiphany, the Startup Owner's Manual, and he talks a lot about what are the steps in building a product business. And what he talks about is there's these 4 steps, which is customer discovery, finding your customer, talking to them, getting inside their head, validating, going out to some arm's length customers, testing your thesis, getting some bright lines established, and then creating the product, the MVP, and then scaling the business. Well, I'd say there's a slightly different set of steps for an AI business, which is you need to find your customer, you need to figure out what they want, but then you just have to put something in front of them, because you don't know what somebody's going to do when they talk to the AI-driven assistant. You don't know what's going to actually come out of this system that's writing sales emails. Are people going to balk at what comes out? Are they going to feel comfortable? Are they fine with something communicating on their behalf? So there's this, because most of these AI products are doing cognitive things that are building themselves into some workflow, either consumer or business workflow. You just got to get something in front of people, and you just got to go and kind of throw yourself at the wall and keep kind of seeing what works and what doesn't work. And so I think there is all the same fundamentals of building a normal business, but you really have to bake in a lot of time to just get something in front of the users and iterate and iterate and iterate and see what people say and see how they feel and how they respond to it, and just try to hone in on something that's actually going to satisfy needs. Another piece, so AI systems need training data, and if it's a system that's going to communicate with humans, there probably needs to be some supervision and saying hey, this is the right thing or this is the wrong thing. And I keep using X.AI as an example because you guys are probably probably most familiar with that as an AI business, but they need to be able to look at an email, and if they're not completely certain, they need to pass it off to a human and say okay, we're pretty sure, but what is this and what are they trying to do, and is there something you can mark up or tell us about it that'll help us identify future such emails. For us, we're writing sales emails, we're originating content, so we needed to actually crowdsource a ton of language in a lot of different tonalities and create tens of thousands of different little micro tasks to get people to write things to actually seed our system. And we had to create colloquialization databases because a lot of data, unstructured data, it sounds robotic when you regurgitate it. And so you need to actually transform that data into the way that people actually represent that data and talk about it. So when we started out, it was a lot of kind of crowdsourcing, a little bit of our internal team just creating data sets. And then now we've shifted to a model where our users actually, they go through a review and they review the emails and they actually contribute to our data sets and teach them and train them and make corrections and do little tweaks. And so this creates a lot of complexity in terms of the workflow of an AI product. And it changes over time. So the same way that we started with internal team, then we went to crowdsourcing, now our users are doing most of it. There's these really interesting workflows and interfaces that you need to build, and they're going to change over time. And the idea is eventually you can get to a pure software solution or something approximating it. But understand that as you're going through this, you're going to see a lot of changes to that workflow. When we started out, we thought this would be our workflow. So we thought users would give us templates. They'd tell us who they want to contact. We'd look that person up. We'd personalize their template, and then we just send it out, and people would open it and they'd be happy, and it would be great. And that turned out to be a little bit naive, because fast forward a little bit, and the software started spitting out like really interesting things, and saying stuff that people weren't comfortable with, and employing tonal language that wasn't totally in line with what people wanted to say. And so even if we're getting like amazing response rates, amazing meeting rates, like just people, the software sending stuff that people weren't comfortable with saying was really a problem for us early on. And so we had to make a way more complex workflow where people actually put in granular blocks of content and kind of seed our system with some information about them, about their company. They put in some contacts, we draft it, we present this interface to the user some interval of time later after we've done the research, done the data calculations, drafted these messages. They review it, they modify it, we actually parse their modifications, we capture them, we feed them back into the system. We send the messages, we get the results, we measure the results of those messages, we give that feedback back the next time we draft a message, we incorporate that. We tell the users, about which audiences they're getting the best performance with, kind of we give them tips on their targeting, and then we give them information on how they can improve their messaging too. So we started out with this very simple workflow, and then we realized we needed to create an entirely new workflow where somebody's drafting something, and then we're changing it, and then they're looking at it again, and it might even go through like multiple iterations of this. So when you have an AI product where you have an interplay between humans and software, you get to these really interesting workflow situations. So another piece, like data storage. So sorry, I'm going to geek out for a minute here a little bit. So when you're using unstructured data and mixing it with structured data, you get into like really interesting situations. Like you can't use a relational schema for information about a person or about a company or about language, because it very quickly breaks down. Your schema is constantly changing. So you have to use like a NoSQL type schema or a NoSQL database platform. But then for parts of your database to be really fast and to be very accurate, you have to actually use relational stuff too. And then what we do is we have a predictive model where we look and we run every single simulation. We see like based on who this person is, based on XYZ attributes, if we construct this message, how likely is this to be successful based on similar past cases. And so then there's like this high-speed computing part of it too, where you actually have to have like this engine that's indexing and running all these different things. So basically, if you're building an AI product, like you have to expect that you're gonna have like 4 or 5 different databases and data models like right from day one. And so if you have a very technical team, especially on the back end, great. If you don't, you really want to have that competence in your founding team so you can navigate that complexity early on. So just a few more slides here. So we started out, we're like, hey, we're going to personalize emails. The problem we found out we're actually solving, which is way more complex, is we help people scale their ability to communicate with others in an authentic, personal way. What is sales? What is digital communication really? You're trying to build trust, you're trying to formulate relationships. People want to do it in an authentic way. So what we effectively do is we remember what people do and how they interact with different people. And when we see it perform well, we suggest they interact with similar ways with new people. And over time, there's this dialogue between machine and operator where eventually you hone in on what's actually going to work well and what's going to actually scale for this person, the salesperson in this case. So building AI products, takeaway number 1, the core principles of customer development is unchanged. Do your customer discovery, find your use case, and then build the technology to fit that. Expect a ton of technical complexity, like unbounded technical complexity, like interfaces, backend. Like give yourself time to iterate and build and see what works, because you really don't know how deep you're going to have to go to actually solve some of these problems acceptably. And the last one, build something people want, and if you do so, you're going to be incredibly successful, because building these businesses is so technically challenging that for any copycat to try to take on what you've done and all those iterations and all that stuff that you've had to build, you're going to have an amazing, complex, defensible, strong business that's going to be very attractive for a long time to come. So that'll make YC happy. He says build something people want. It'll make Larry happy, who says, take the risk on the technical side, not the customer side. And that's it. That's the rest of my presentation. So thank you guys.
Hello. All right, questions for Will?
Yeah, I was wondering if you have any type of download.
Let me get the microphone for you, but when this gentleman raised his hand first.
Good presentation, thanks. Two questions, actually. The first one is, do you expect to have some type of industry-specific corpuses that you would use when you go to sell this to a specific customer? For example, I work in the electronics industry, and I would think that a more humane email stream coming to me would be a lot more legit if it had the industry buzzwords that I use on a daily basis. And second question is, I'm assuming that there would be a way to do things like bolt a product recommendation engine onto this, i.e., hey, I understand you like product X, you might be interested in product Y. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that. So your first question, as far as the industry-specific piece. So what the product does today is it'll actually look at who you are and identify your socio-demographic traits. And for the content that we're actually originating and the content you create as the user, we try to apply it to similar types of people as the default case. So it will kind of try to approximate the recipient in that regard. As far as today, if you're a salesperson using the product, a lot of when you're talking about your own company or you're talking about things that are very kind of idiosyncratic to your specific industry, those are the things that you'll seed the actual system with. So it's very good at being conversational. It's very good at finding common ground with people and kind of warming them up and using tonal language that's in tune with people's predilections. But as far as like kind of talking about your own company, your own business, your own industry, that's the part that we let the user do and populate that content into the system. And your second question, sorry, remind me real quick.
Product recommendation engine.
Oh, product recommendation engine. Yeah, it's so really. I mean, if you think about the problem we're solving is we're matching language to people, but and we're using the feedback loop of the success and the user preferences, but there's no reason that technology isn't generalizable to a lot of different use cases, and product recommendations being one of them. So we're not doing it today, but it's certainly something that we're thinking about. Thank you.
Will, what tools and know-how would you recommend that folks who are wishing to build AI products, what kind of background do they need in terms of being versed in tools and knowledge about data and training and that sort of thing?
Yeah, that's a very good question. So a couple of things that I think are great resources for learning about different technologies that are applicable to AI. So I genuinely believe in project-based learning for technical disciplines. And so I believe going through tutorials where you build something and get some hands-on experience is always going to be much better than just kind of reading a spec or looking at a book. And so there's two that I've seen that are very good. One of them is there's a gentleman at Stanford whose name escapes me who put a machine learning course on Coursera. It's available for free. You go through some of the basics of data science and machine learning. You get introduced to some of the different libraries, some of the different methods. It's free. It's amazing. I would say number one, everybody, if you're thinking about getting into the industry, go through that. It's a great course. The other thing is, so Google has open sourced TensorFlow. Which is a great library and also captures a lot of those different technologies that you need. And built into the module of TensorFlow, there's all these really great tutorials and really great introductions. And some of them are pretty light, but it actually gets incredibly complex as you go through them. So there's a lot of good stuff there to sink your teeth into if you're looking to learn some of the technologies.
Andrew.
Yeah.
Sorry, Andrew Ng.
Andrew Ng. That's the Stanford professor who put up that course.
He works at Baidu though.
Yeah.
So, have you run into the situation yet where the prospect or customer realizes that they're speaking with a computer?
So certainly early on, that was more of an issue before we had review mode. It would spit out things that were more robotic sounding, and so over time we've had to actually had to tune the system to make that a little better. I'd say today that it's pretty rare that the system will spit out something that's just kind of totally obviously robotic. And also there's the extra step of review where we recommend people take 10, 15, 20 seconds, put some eyeballs on it before it goes out. Something kind of funny is I saw one thing that happened about a month ago is one of our customers got prospected by another one of our customers in our product, and we were doing a call with the latter customer. We were going over something, and they were kind of showing us the product, and we saw that person's name, and they like just totally responded to the personalization and the text that it wrote as if it were written by the actual sender. And this is somebody who like uses our product on a daily basis, who didn't even know that the product was being used to target them and talk to them. So I thought that was kind of interesting, and it really is a pretty convincing technology in the limited scope of sales emails today.
If I capture, I'm naturally projecting voice, so let's try this. If I capture correctly, it sounds like your software learns as the user interacts with it over time. Did I get that right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
If that's the case, it seems to me there's a certain kind of user that is going to expect that the product needs time to learn them and to get better. So how do you build that into, now that you have an established product and clientele, how have you built that into your your sales or your solutioning?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So with our onboarding, what we try to do is, we know there's some wow moments in our product, and when somebody comes in to try our product, they've probably seen a demo or seen it on somebody else's system. And as soon as they come in, we try to get them as quickly as possible to a wow moment, which is showing, they put in a contact and the product's written something that's just very organic, very highly targeted, very human sound, very human. And so we try to get people to that, and we try to minimize the steps that are kind of more boring or more the more kind of rote work that you need to do to set up a product. It is true. Like we ask for some information up front, and we try to make it a bite-sized chunk that gets them to the wow moment. But very quickly, when people get into that review, like we immediately show them how to customize it, how to put their own voice into it. Most people, I think the standard they hold us to and what they compare us to is the process of doing this manually, where you're literally starting from scratch from an empty box and going and researching somebody or researching a company, kind of thinking about what to put into that message. So it's certainly true. I mean, people are training the system. You don't want to overload them up front with a lot of really boring kind of rote, repetitive work to like train the system before you get value out of it. So we try to make it an engaging, fun experience, and so that it means like breaking out little bite-sized chunks of work that the user needs to do to get it up and running well. But it's a great question, and it's one that we're constantly evaluating and thinking through the onboarding flows, because that's really important for us.
Hi. Suppose if you're building a product in AI, my product, I started this my startup way back in 5 to 6 years ago. So where it involved machine learning and AI aspect of it, because I wanted to build a product with a huge amount of data that I required, which is dependent on that data, and the product is also dependent on that data as well. So how do you build such products which is dependent on the second variables or second, third, fourth variables?
Yeah, so basically these systems, these machine learning products, these AI products, they take huge data sets to actually be smart. And your question is, how do you actually get those data sets when you're just starting out? Is that accurate?
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah, so for us, we just sent a lot of emails. So literally, before we really got this in the hands of any users, we had to set baselines for what content works. We had to get some basic data sets going, and so we created some accounts and just got some data in there. I think depending on what the product is specifically, there can be a lot of different strategies. You could be hacky. If it's something that you could crowdsource, maybe you could do it on Crowdflower for 5 cents a task. It depends on what it is. Or maybe there's some historical data that approximates the kind of data you'll generate. Yeah.
Actually, my product was on, it's a game-based assessment for precise personality assessment. Basically, I wanted to give it, make it freemium. First, in India, I wanted to do it for youths. Taking 5 million approximately, that was my objective, around at least around 500,000 initially, and get free assessment, and based on the data available from that, and then build on my parameters.
Yeah, so so basically, how do you get some basic archetypes in place for what recommendations to make? It sounds like. So yeah, I think it applies by hook or by crook. Whatever the channel is that you're going to be sourcing these people from, maybe there's a way to kickstart that channel and get a baseline data set, and maybe you could ask people initially. You'd need a feedback loop of some sort. So maybe you could ask them at the end, or you could ask them 2 weeks later. Were you successful with this? Did you find the recommendations to be good? So I think as long as you get a way to get some volume through the system early and get some kind of feedback loop in place, then that should be enough to kind of set a benchmark and start yourself off. Good question. Breaking the system here.
This kind of reminded me of Google's, I don't know how to pronounce it, Allo, their new messaging app, where they have very less personalized but much more context-based, going in other industries or breaking out in the next year or so.
Yeah, I think what they've done with that has really opened a lot of people's eyes, and I think it's one of the really exciting use cases for this technology. I think honestly, it's hard to even think of what the different applications for AI type technologies are. But when I was showing up, I traveled here on Friday, and I was thinking about it. It's so what did I do on Friday? I went and I got a car, took that car to the airport, and then I went and I checked in and I stood in line, and then I waited for a plane, and then I got on the plane, and then I had to go to a rental car counter, got the rental car, went and checked into a hotel. You think about when I think about AI, I think about what are all the really repetitive things that we do in day-to-day life, and what are the things that could be made more efficient, be made better, and hopefully that's not that people are going to get replaced in jobs or I don't think it's going to have a negative societal impact. I think it's going to empower people to be more efficient, to do better, and allow people to focus on the really value-add activities in their day. And I think the Google one, it's very general, so it's hard to know where they're going to go with that. I think when you see Amy, or you see a company like ours, it's much more clear what the use case is. But there's a restaurant that opened in San Francisco called Itza it's you go in, you order a meal, it comes straight out through these cubbies. I think there's a lot of interesting things that'll save costs, and I think there's a lot of really exciting things where it's going to empower people to do better, to be more personal, like what we're doing with our company. But I think for sure it's a really exciting time, and there's a lot of applications for AI that are going to come out in the next few years. They're just going to totally blow our minds that we're not even thinking about.
Could you talk a little bit about your founding team and who had the background in these kind of concepts around AI that made this feasible?
Yeah, so it definitely was not me. It was definitely my co-founder. We were both engineers together in undergrad, and I broke off and started messing around in marketing and sales, and he stayed pretty true to the data science and machine learning path, and he ended up going and it worked out well. He was at MIT doing his data systems masters when I was doing my MBA across the river HBS. So he was definitely the one who had that background coming in. Since then, we've brought in advisors to augment us. One of our advisors is the guy who actually, this guy Dan Zigmund. He actually, he's the head of. So when you use Facebook, that news feed, what orders it and puts what's going to engage you the most, like the childbirth or the wedding or the life event. So he's the guy who comes up with the algorithms that actually does that. So Dan's been a huge help as well. And as we continue to grow, we'll probably keep plugging in specialists because AI, you have to cut across so many different specialty technologies that we know we're going to have to grow our technical breadth and depth, especially as we grow.
Will, do you see unique challenges with respect to user experience with AI, and are there unique ways that you have to overcome them? Do you have to hire special kinds of user experience people in order to overcome those challenges?
Yeah, it's a great question, actually. So we've had a lot of people ask us along the way, probably 10, 20, 30 different people at companies who work for companies like MailChimp, like, hey, well, why don't you just take your personalization stuff and pipe it into our product via an API? And the hard part is the workflows are just so complex because it's you have to enter some data and then we have to go do something and then we present something back to you and you have to do something with it and then we do something with it and then later we give you some feedback on what happened when that data went or that thing we created went to somebody and basically what that comes out to is we have to be in the context of where the user is so that we can have a dialogue with the user. So we built the product as a Chrome extension that overlays on top of Gmail. And that creates so much complexity to actually build a really rich interface that can have a dialogue with the user and support these complex workflows. And the amount of JavaScript and the amount of just stuff that you normally don't have to deal with on a normal website or interface is pretty crazy. So the biggest thing for us is, if you're trying to build into a user's existing interface, so many systems are different, operating systems are different, people might have different extensions running, people might have different setup on their email, stuff just breaks like crazy. And right now it's an ongoing battle. We've been changing a lot of stuff and we were talking about this today. What we do right now is we have a lot of really, passionate users, and we literally get them to install it, the beta release, and then we watch them use it, and we record the screen and get their feedback and see what stuff breaks. But I don't know. We've been looking at using user testing. There's a lot of cloud solutions now where it's the human cloud for testing. Our use case is a little. It's a little idiosyncratic to B2B sales. I don't know if there's the B2B sales, test cloud yet, but that's such a big question for our business right now. How do you test these things when they're out in the wild and they need to be operating autonomously with the user? It's really hard. Good question.
But
Sorry, Roger.
Just a quick question. I liked how you talked at the beginning about knowing I think you called it the single quantifiable metric, or a single quantifiable metric. For you, I guess it's some variation of the click-throughs or the actions that the recipients of these mails take. Do you actually, sort of, share in the value of this metric with the customer in the sense of your pricing? Do you price based on the actual actions that take place so that there's sort of a shared value understanding of the cost, or is it priced more based on just the number of messages that they craft and send out?
Yeah, so that's a great question. we've thought about this along the way, like charging for meetings set or charging for number of emails sent. We chose to do it as a flat pricing per month per seat. And the reason is because just the way that organizations do their budgeting, it's easier for organizations to commit to an annual contract and do an MSA and commit to a price. And today the product is, it's ostensibly software. Like there's zero scaling cost to us to bring on a new customer, or a very small scaling cost. So, and there's characteristics of just kind of the reliability, the finance, the predictability, the forecastability that creates a lot of value. So I think, yeah, like if we did a pricing model that's variable, it'd be closer to the value. But for business reasons, we choose to do it in a flat pricing structure.
Okay, it seems the big 7 or 8 or whatever are always out offering their AI engines for the small the entrepreneur. You've got Google offering their speech engine for nothing right now, and IBM's gone through a number of moves like that. One, do you take advantage of any of that? Would you advise taking advantage of any of that? And what's in it for them?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's something that we look at a lot. So we take advantage of some third-party libraries, but our philosophy is anytime we can use a third-party library, anytime we can not actually build something in-house, we will absolutely use that third-party library, unless there's a reason that's like really prohibitive toward doing that.
Those are engines. I'm talking about engines, where in the past you'd start paying so much per minute or hour or something. You've written your app, and you're going to use their speech recognition to go from speech to text, that kind of a scenario.
Yeah, so we've engaged with a few. We've looked at, like, IBM Watson has a lot of different services like this. They're like, it's not just a library, it's like a whole package service that you use in your product. I think as a small company, you have to be careful because not all the pricing structures for these products are built for tiny startups. Like some of them, they really want a good amount of money. And IBM with Watson, they did like revenue sharing, which is like a really strange thing to enter into as an agreement for a startup at our stage. But our philosophy is, and we made this mistake with our first startup, we built everything. And really, I mean, if we can outsource everything that's boilerplate and everything that can be outsourced, not the labor, but like the code. Like if we can use a library or we can use a service, like we absolutely will. Actually, one of the services here, one of the ones in the building is Context.io, and they're a subsidiary, a product within ReturnPath, which is an Austin-based company here, and we used them for a while because we didn't want to have to actually build the inbox integrations, and so anytime we can do stuff like that, and that's true for even the machine learning stuff, the data science stuff, the AI stuff. Like if there's an off-the-shelf solution and it works and it saves us a lot of time, we're absolutely going to take advantage of it.
Hey, so earlier you talked about having some back-end folks as part of the founding team. What is your hiring list for first 10 employees for an AI company?
Yeah. So if you're interested, let's talk after the Q&A. But it's a mix. We need great back-end technologists, hopefully with some exposure to NumPy, SciPy, with Python in general. We need back-end people on Node. We need back-end people on Ruby. And anybody who's really good at front-end JavaScript, we're always looking for that too. So I'd say it's generally similar, but with a little bit of a bent towards high concurrency systems, data flow systems, and data science, machine learning, of course.
Thank you.
Hold it away from that.
So one question, so what are the different market areas you're using this product for? And so what is the feedback you get from different verticals? Like for which verticals does it work well and which verticals it doesn't work well? Like some.
Yeah. Good question. Yeah, so today we're mostly focused on the B2B sales vertical. There are some recruiting companies that have adopted our product. There's some education companies that have adopted our product. It's been interesting to see how users have taken it and kind of made it their own in different areas. But primarily we're focused on B2B sales. And I think it's applicable to anybody who's doing digital communication. Today we're mostly on the email platform. That's really what we're doubled down on initially. So anybody who's doing email and incorporation with their sales process. Where I'd say it works well is, where it works the best is for organizations who are scaling and targeting very high-level decision makers, people who really need to make the most value out of every touch and every interaction. And those people who really understand, the value of personalization and have felt the pain of trying to, write, 50 emails a day manually and seeing just how brutal of a process that could possibly be for them. So, that's generally, where we're pretty sure we're going to close a customer if they fit that profile. But, up and down the board, we have a lot of customers that surprise us in the way they use our product. So it's always fun to see that evolve.
Yeah, I wanted to know more from an AI perspective, tech perspective, just what kind of market areas does it work? Does it work for everything, or?
So that's really like a very cool and interesting wrinkle of this product, which is that we have this very technically complex product, and salespeople are the epitome of just don't make me think. They don't want ambiguity. They don't want to. They don't want to have to deal with technology. They don't want to have to look at data. They don't want to have to deal with complex processes or interfaces. And so, it's really across the board. I mean, a lot of the people who use our product are young people, right out of college, no technical background. Obviously, these are generally salespeople and marketing people. So, even though we're engineers, I'm an engineer by trade. We have to make it seem very approachable, very organic, make it very simple and very fun to use. So, and really it kind of cuts across all different verticals for us.
So to personalize an email, you need to, or ideally you know who is on the other end of the email. So where are you getting that information about who's the recipient? Are you just getting publicly available information, like you're scraping from their LinkedIn or Facebook profiles? Are you integrating with CRMs? Where does the data on the recipient come from so you can personalize the email?
Yeah, that's a good question. So all we would need from the user is an identity. So first name, last name, company name, email address. And then we at this point, we aren't a data company. We don't go and scrape a ton of stuff. We don't go and collect data, but we are very, very deep connoisseurs of every possible available data source. So we get people's interests, we get people's their backgrounds, we get information from public records, we get information from different social networks, we get information from pretty much any source you could possibly get. We get all those, we reconcile them, we clean them, we make sure the data is accurate, and that's not really that's not what we do. That's just one of the steps on the way to what we do. But that's actually something that was really hard to do. And when we went through that process of all those different feedback iterations, we discovered that number one, you have to be thorough. So you have to get data on 90-95% of people plus, and then also you have to be so accurate. If you say something wrong to somebody in this context where it's actually business communication that you're augmenting, they're not cool with that. And so we use a lot of different data sources, and that's an ongoing theme of the company, is to continue to get better at that and continue to get more deeper data, bring in more external data to augment that data and create really quality content out of it. So it's a great question.
Did you say that currently it's only available? Did you say that currently the platform available is through Chrome and Gmail only? And did you use components from other inbox and return path?
Yeah, so we today it is only available on Chrome and Gmail. We're working on our Outlook integration. It's taking a little time. It'll probably be a few more months before that comes out. Although we're very excited, we've had a lot of interest from people who are on Outlook to use our product. So Context.io, we use their email API, and it's saved us a ton of time. It's a great platform, and we've been very happy with it. So yeah, Return Path, I mean, it's a great product, great company. We're huge fans, and it seems that they're here in this building. So are you from Return Path?
No. It's Joshua Bear's baby, I think.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, they've done really well. So it's a great Austin startup success story.
So one of the aspects of AI products is the bootstrapping of the product, right? So how long it takes for the output of it to become viable. And I think that can become a significant bottleneck towards building AI products. Did you use any techniques to kind of short circuit that so that you could bootstrap that learning either by consuming emails from your customers or actually just dogfooding your own product to a point where it actually learned enough to have a viable output?
So the answer is absolutely yes. We dogfooded to the point where we had close to 1,000 people on our wait list before we even had something usable. So we used the heck out of the product before we got it out there. I think the good news about it in general is that there's kind of a basic pattern to good personalized content, and we could pull enough information in that we can generally, even if it's not approximating your exact voice, we can generally get people out there with a pretty good message their first time using the product, even with very general information about them and their products and their company. You talked about did we kind of shortcut it? And it's interesting, we talked about this. We were tempted along the way, especially when we were facing a lot of troubles in getting a viable solution to market. We're like, man, can we just Turk this and just hire somebody to write these emails? And we thought about it. We were like, hey, if we need to keep the lights on, it might come down to it. But we didn't do it. I don't know whether that was the right or wrong decision, but thankfully even though our burn got down to where we were almost out of money at one point, really close, thankfully we got some customers and we got some further investment before it ever really came down to really desperate times. But I think certainly we would have had to eventually kind of ease our way off that, but it might have been a way to take a shortcut, use the human queue, quote unquote, a little bit to augment the solution. And honestly, we might have a better solution today if we blended those in more elegantly. But it's all those different pieces of the workflow and how you build them over time. And those workflows can get really complex, as we talked about, and I'm sure you know yourself. So, but yeah, it's a good question.
More questions? Oh, we got one more.
Getting to that transition point where you were trying to painfully develop enough customers and develop an actual functioning product, what was the actual technical key that you found that actually got you to sprint to launch your product that customers actually liked? That was useful, right?
Yeah, it's a good question. So in terms of opens, clicks, replies, engagement, meetings booked, the numbers were there long before people would actually buy the product. It was very subjective. It was just a series of 1,000 little tiny things that we did over a course of time. There was no bright line. I think we just kept iterating, and it was just a lot of little pieces that over time added up to create a solution that people deemed was actually viable for doing their jobs, and they found it added value. But I think that's what makes it it makes it hard to forecast a business like this, as I was talking about earlier, because you can't really like create like a waterfall of like, first we're gonna build this, then we're gonna build this, then we're gonna build this, and it's gonna work like this. Like, you know, it's more of like a ninja product management where you're like on the line every day on GoToMeeting, watching people like, you know, struggle through it, and you're kind of struggling through it too. But you know, at the end of the day, I think like it does create a lot of defensibility, and it's just over time you get closer and closer and closer, and then eventually you're like, oh yes, finally somebody's gonna buy it. And so yeah, it's just over time. Just got there eventually.
All right, thank you very much, Will.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. This is awesome.
So stay tuned for a door prize that we're going to be giving away shortly. You can get your parking validated at the front desk on the way out. But before you do that, please be aware that we are looking for your feedback. We have a survey, a very short survey that we'd like you to complete, and the link for that survey is it's a bit.ly link, bit.ly/July 12 survey, all lowercase, July 12 survey. And if you fill out that survey, you get the slides from Will. So if you're looking for those slides in particular, make sure you fill out that survey, and we'd love to have your feedback regardless. We're going to be giving away a door prize here. As usual, Prabhakar's going to pull from his bag of tricks, but that door prize is going to go to the person who Will thinks had the best question, which might be tough because he probably said that's a good question about 10 times. So don't want to put you on the spot here, but if there was anything that stood out for you, let us know. Otherwise, we can pull one from the audience, see what the audience thinks.
Okay, so I wish I had done this before all the questions came out, because there were a lot of good questions. I'm gonna go with the gentleman in the back who asked 2 questions in the striped shirt yonder. So yeah, thanks for the great questions. Appreciate it.
All right, congratulations. Prabhakar, is there anything else we need to wrap up with?
Thank you, Raj. It's all lowercase, bit.ly/July12SURVEY survey. And then we have the next AI meetup, next Product Austin meetup with an AI speaker again, the CEO of X.AI from New York City, Dennis Mortensen, will be here August 9th. August 9th is a Tuesday, the second Tuesday of next month. That event is live on the Product Austin Meetup website, so you can go there, productaustin.com, and RSVP now. Normally it's a good habit to do it right now, so you don't forget. And then, Don, do you have anything to say? No? Will, thank you very much. Roger, thanks a lot. We do have the Product Academy Growth PM informational next Wednesday at Galvanize, not here in Capital Factory, but Galvanize. Do please come to that as well. And we want to build this Product Austin community, large, big. We have about 1,875 members in 2 years. We'd like to grow it. And if you RSVP for the next event, please show up. Oh, one last thing I forgot. How many people here contributed $5 or $10 to the nonprofit? Thank you so much. It was very kind of you. CareBox actually won one of the top 3 prizes at a recent event, the Philanthropitch event. So it's a well-deserved cause. Thank you so much for making that contribution.
Okay, sure. So when you start, yeah. Yeah. People do this with yeah. Personally, scenarios where Yes.
Go look at the consultant that's going to sell.
Yes.
But then later on, I saw somebody else doing it.
Yes.
So,
yeah, so I think it's way easier with B2B enterprises versus consumer. Yeah, because like consumers are really fickle. Like even if it's like a consumer product, like I think it's really hard to like get it down. It's hard to get that measurement. I think B2B, like if you know who the decision maker is, or you know who the purchaser is, you can usually like get them by some method or another. Like buy you lunch or like, give you something. I'll give you a gift card. It takes time. You can usually get them to like talk to you about what they need. Really like talk to them about your idea and kind of test the viability of it. People usually like so there's market data like you can look up like if it's B2B like Forrester reports, you can look up like different verticals of different ones. In sales there's Topo. You can start with that and then work your way down to that decision maker and really kind of pin them down. It seems a little weird to like talk to this like theoretical decision maker about this like theoretical product, but it's really important. And like the more you can kind of like do that without having anything, like the better off you're going to be once you start actually building something. For us, it was like we started just by like talking at a high level, and then we were like, yeah, we built this product, like check it out. We just had like some photoshops that we did, and eventually like. You like work in concentric circles down to like getting it like really close and tight. So.
Did you wait until you had multiple, or
Yeah, I mean, it kind of depends. I think for us, like, we had a pretty good signal. Like, we like spun our wheels for like a month or two before we ever did meetings. Like, just kind of just talking to people all the time about it, like, and mocking it up and doing like product design, pre-product. Yeah.
And you're not scared of IP?
No, not at all. No. Like I think like so. When I was in business school, like Drew Houston came and did lunch with us, the founder of Dropbox, and he's like, you should just go and like tell the entire world about your product and like tell them about go to your number one competitor and like tell them what you're gonna build, like how you're gonna build it. They probably won't care or won't do anything about it. Like I don't know if I agree that much, but like I generally yeah, I mean it's so hard to like start a company, period. The notion that like two people could like it happens, but I think it's pretty rare, actually, to be honest. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
About you must love safe.
Safe what? Oh, I know, right? Yeah, that's actually. Oh my God, you're totally right. I wondered why it was just those two keys that did. I totally do.
Yeah, I was questions. So one is really, what are the three best and worst things about launching, building your own product?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, so I can tell you what. I'll start with. I'll do the sandwich. So I'll start with a good one. Then I'll talk about shitty things. I'll talk about another good one. Building like a team of people that you really want to work with, and like building the culture and the work style that makes you like really excited to come into work, like is awesome. Like building a team is like so cool. And, selecting an office and like choosing whether you go to lunch together or not. Like what perks do you get? Do you do like a company offsite? Do you not? Like that's awesome. Living in like constant pressure and stress like sucks. Like sometimes you like can't sleep. Like you're always on. Like you end up having to like ignore like a lot of your friends, like ignore a lot of your family. One of the cool things about coming here for this talk is like I was able to work remotely just in like a room by myself for the last couple days, which is like awesome. It's like the first time I've been like not around people in like it's usually like every day I'm at work all day and I'm like either going home to like see my girlfriend or I'm like going to like spend time with like some friend I haven't caught up with in like a month. So it's just always on and it's like really high pressure, so you have to like go to the gym or like get rest and take care of yourself. And the other part is like just kind of embracing the uncertainty and not knowing where your product can go, where your company can go, and just kind of living on the leading edge. Being able to look back and see how like you've progressed and you've got through situations that look like totally dire. So
But I mean, look, if you have a few years of your life to like give it a try, because I think you should commit at least like 3, 4, or 5 years to a startup. Like you're probably gonna have a lot of like struggles in the beginning as you kind of figure things out. Like I think it's like a really awesome thing to do, especially early in your career.
Awesome. And the other question: how do you go about hiring technical?
It's so hard. It's so hard. Oh my god. Like we like try to go through like our friends. So like
Any recommendations?
yeah, it's like it's the best way. It's so hard. Like we've had like engineers like come for like 3 interviews, and then like we're gonna make them an offer, and like everything's totally good. They're like, I'm so excited to work with you guys, blah blah. And then they just like don't even show up. Like engineers have so many options right now, especially in San Francisco. That like it's so hard. Like it's hard to find the good ones, and then when you do, it's hard to like pin them down and get them into your company. So
Yeah, it's getting worse and worse.
yeah, find good engineers. Yeah, working through friends is best. But going to events like this could be pretty amazing too. You need to like chat with people, and get a good sense of them right up front. Yeah.
I'm curious. So one of the founders of the agency.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
In charge of finding the right talent.
Yeah.
In Austin.
Yeah. If you figure out any hacks, like let me know. Like, maybe we'll open our hackathon.
The Hilton Austin section. Yeah, it usually helps. Yeah. Hilton Austin and check out this.
That's one of the meetups too. Yeah. Just gotta get out there.
Recruiters usually don't treat. You just have to live there, and then if you know them, then
Yeah, it's probably a matter of networking, and
they've got to have a relationship already. Otherwise, I'm gonna go with a guy that I already know. I've been talking to for years.
Yeah. I mean, my co-founder, like, we just hired like another engineer. We've had some like arm's length hires, but it's been like through the network. Like, so that always works really well. But you gotta put time in it
when you're startup.
Yeah, it does.
There'll be a lot of trust in the founders.
Yep.
The rest of the team.
Totally.
If you don't have that, it's just gonna be really hard to.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Yeah. If you ever need an awesome UI.
Oh yeah, man. I'll hit you up. We're cool. I'll check you out. We're always in the market.
Yeah, thank you for the talk.
Cool. Thank you. Hey, what's up, Alex? Good to meet you.
Really appreciate informational. Congrats on going through YC. Did you spend a lot of time with Sam?
No. So Sam actually is not doing the Accelerator anymore. He put Paul Buchheit in charge of it. Yeah. So I mean, they have YC Continuity. They have the YC Fellowship, which I heard they're sunsetting. They have OpenAI. So like Sam's like, he's taking it like to the next level.
Basic research.
Well, I tell you what. OpenAI. Yeah. Right on mission in the city. Yeah. It's a beautiful office. I've been to that office. It's like mind-blowingly nice. Full. Oh yeah. Like one of our investors. He was like the first hire at Stripe. He joined OpenAI. And like he's. Yeah. So they got like some really good people on OpenAI. So, we didn't interact with Sam much, but he has such a strong brand, and everybody loves him so much. Like, it's really a bummer that we didn't get to like spend as much time with him.
Yeah, I went to a couple hackathons up in SF.
Oh, cool. Oh, nice. What are you? Are you interning out here? Or?
I grew up here.
Yeah.
My dad pretty much my childhood.
What company? Oh yeah, cool. Yeah.
So he'd be up there half the time anyway.
Yeah.
California.
Yeah.
Back in school years. So I just left a startup that went 3 years on.
Yeah.
And I'm contracting with
Yeah.
They have AI in their product to kind of dynamically assign people to slots, as well as if you have a meeting, you should be able to text the product and say, hey, what's the idea in their hour?
Yeah.
So the two founders are both on
Yes.
Further into that
Yeah, it's like we use Angular, and I think we explored switching to React. I don't know if it's well or not, but there's a lot of JavaScript. We started doing more JavaScript in the back end too. I wish we'd built JavaScript at the start. Ruby was a mistake. Some of our products on Ruby. Yeah, so I don't know, yeah, most of the stuff, all the calculations stuff. So it's kind of like a Franken code base. The databases are like the conduit. The APIs and the databases are like where we the breakpoints for them. We definitely have some stuff that's written in unfortunately, like utilities and functions here and there. No, thank God, no. Yeah, I bet. You ever seen the PHP CEO Twitter handle? No. Oh, it's hilarious. You gotta check that. Yeah.
Anyway, well, thank you.
Cool, man. Yeah.
Ping me. Send me a link.
Yeah, if you like, I know what you're looking for after your internship, but if you have a card.
Yeah, sure. I don't have a card. Are you on LinkedIn?
Yeah, I am. Cool. Awesome, man. Good meeting you.
Yeah, Mark. Nice to meet you. Thanks for the talk. Is that you asking questions back there? Yeah. About your background.
Yeah.
I was looking all over.
Yeah. I am. It was awesome though. It was a cool app.
Well, that's what I was trying to get at. Like, so, right there along with with the feedback I started. Sure. An area they're in.
Yeah.
So, you're doing one. They were great questions. AI and ML.
Yeah.
Have some different ideas. Not B2B sales.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you have learning specific to that, or what worked in the UI, what didn't. It looked like you had a kind of thread. I couldn't really tell from that far back, but it was like.
Oh, as far as like our mobile product.
Yeah. What did you learn?
I think like the biggest thing like we kind of screwed up on is like we didn't really know who our like user was. Like, if you're gonna do consumer, like do consumer and know that your measurement's gonna be like virality and DAUs and if you're gonna do enterprise, if you're gonna do B2B, like know that you're gonna be measured by revenue.
But I think everyone's ideal B2B now is Slack models. Download your Nova plugin and just go on.
Yeah, the enterprise app.
I can expense it, and then once you guys grow into the org enough, kill all my self-studies, then all of a sudden I turn around and have some negotiation that happens with the org.
Yeah.
So we're hoping for a similar model to get pulled in through usage.
Yeah. So you guys are like prosumer as well.
Yeah.
It's hard. Yeah. Prosumer is like, the growth potential is tremendous. It's really hard. We were trying to do consumer with Thread, and then we kind of switched to prosumer, and man, it was just really rough.
Too late.
I think for us,
find the match, right?
I think we were too mobile. There's not a lot of businesses. We were mobile only for a while, and then by the time we added a web app, it was just too late in the game.
Starting on desktop.
I mean, desktop's great too. Slack's got a great desktop app. It's kind of just like a browser and a desktop app. It's cool. I like it. I think we should have one because right now the problem is if somebody closes the browser, we're gone. So we lose our communication pipeline to the user as soon as they close the tab. Thankfully, we're in email, so it's that's pretty open most of the time. So yeah.
But not everyone uses or even likes the Gmail client.
Exactly. Yeah. Super limiting. Super limiting. Yeah. Most thankfully, Google Apps is default regular, not inbox. So, but it's good. It's a major friction point. And the deeper we get into the inbox, the more screwed we are, and we as we build our Outlook.
So you're actually reading through all their mail, or are you getting a sense for how they write?
Well, we don't deconstruct old messages. We could, but it's just a different problem set. That'd probably be a whole company in itself to parse those emails and So for us, we haven't really delved into that, but yeah, it's operating on the email box and doing that content. It's actually pretty funny. We have like a video on Vimeo of like Thread, like an old demo video. So yeah, it's on there somewhere. If not, like email me, you can find me the thing and I'll send it to you.
Thanks, appreciate it.
Yeah, pleasure. Nice to meet you.
Hey, how's it going? Well,
Hey.
Michael.
Pleasure to meet you.
Great to meet you. Great conversation there.
Thank you.
I'm in sales.
Yeah.
And this is really appealing to me, and I've been trying to figure out a lot about what's happening with AI.
Yeah.
I saw a great show the other day on Charlie Rose.
Yeah.
That I'd love to send you.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
It was it was laid out in a way that I'd never heard where AI is and the inflection point that recently happened that allowed AI to kind of get to where it's at. And one of the things that we're talking about was that a lot of algorithms that are being constructed right now by companies like yours are repetitive tasks.
Yes.
Things that are manual, that replace humans to do this and that. But at a point in the future, they said that it would be difficult to understand how AI actually fixed what they were trying to do better.
Yeah, like deep AI, quote unquote. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So at some point, we're not going to even realize how it constructed. It made itself better than what we attempted to make.
Yeah.
And then where are we going to be? Because obviously, it's where do you go from there? It's like the AI becomes smarter than anything we could have ever made.
Yeah.
And how did it get there?
Then singularity happens.
We'll never know.
Yeah.
But I wanted to know from a sales perspective.
Yes.
As far as somebody like myself who works in a SaaS business model, working with a lot of emails, follow-ups, how are you reaching me if I want to use you and my company is looking for Nova but doesn't know you exist? How are you reaching me?
So right now we're totally like building that out actually. So we did a lot of inbound. So we did some like major press articles that drove a lot for us. We do a little bit of outbound, of course, like for a lot of purposes. That's an important part of our business. There's a few different initiatives. One is we're revamping all of our web presence. We're optimizing. We're starting to put out more content. We're going to start working with there's a lot of sales consultants like. Procar helps people with their sales and marketing. There's a lot of people that fit that, so that's one channel. So we have about 8 different channels that we're targeting. Some of them we're doubling down on, some we're experimenting on. But do you have something in mind specific? Or?
Well, no, I just because of my sales background and my interest in AI and being in Austin, the community growing rapidly. And I want to understand how I can place myself within that conversation and be of use to a company like yours once it reaches that point where they're going to need to be onboarding AI, products. So I just want to understand more. But I heard you say you were on LinkedIn.
I am, yeah. I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on there. You can find my email. Will at Nova.ai. Or talk to CG if you know him, and he can give you my contact info.
Sweet. Yeah, I'll email you on your Nova email, and I'd love to send you the stuff that I saw in Charlie Rose.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
And just keep the conversation going. I'm in a position to get a job here in Austin with a company that's all B2B.
Awesome.
I'd love to.
Really interesting. I've never been to fantastic.
Great to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you too. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah. Doing the weird intro like
That guy's, I didn't get a computer enrolled.
Yeah.
When you talk about products, is it like
30 years ago.
menu products,
Yeah.
software products, or hardware products? So, and then 90% of the stuff. So here, what you can, I would say that the topics we will work through, examples, and everything like that. I have one product I have done for hardware.
Yeah.
But I don't want to.
Yeah.
That's not software kind of really pattern match up and be able to explain. Seems like every time I go out of town, I can tell you what is happening in the hardware space. Me being remote, how the other market is starting to melt. Usually based on certain devices that have some modules.
Yeah.
And so you can understand the fast forward.
But this is actually something.
Yeah. Yeah, because totally. Yeah.
Then I wanted to build a system.
And then there's IoT.
For
understanding.
Yeah. Figure out what people are good at. Even though there's both of those industries.
brackets in one particular
cycle. Yeah.
But I wanted to make first initial parenting is like that, but after that revalidation is next step. I want to give him an opportunity to learn and change his suppose if there is he can change to learning. So for that I need data points,
Yes.
So that's how I try to build
I'll check it out.
depending on the
Are you the guy that's doing electrical stuff? So, okay. There's a guy who you should totally check out. He's got a book called Getting Unstuck. He's like the head of career services at HBS. And when we went there, he actually did like, he has this like way to go about it where he surveys you, he surveys the people you know, and like supposedly he like psychographically like projects distantly related. He's done a lot of great like top work on it, so I highly recommend like checking him out. The book's called Getting Unstuck. Yeah, but like if you email me, I can you know I can right now there's just Will Will at Nova.ai, and then I can you know shoot back and forth there a little bit. I don't want to take too long. This gentleman's been waiting very patiently, but it'd be best if we could totally take it offline and chat. So I want to know how to execute your notes and advice. That sounds really cool. Oh, nice. Kind of like hashtags in a way for the subject line. I think Google does this thing where, like, you know, whoever the sender is, the first letter of their name appears in big graphics like now. That's just some recent integration. And maybe that could be a slot for like what categories subject line photos. So you can categorize what goes out based on the subject line. SF, as opposed to just the natural way that it's arranged. Hey, thanks for coming out. Pleasure meeting you. Hey, thanks for being patient. No problem at all. Well, very good. Very nice presentation.
Where's my video?
I'm up here today.
I expected to be, Spielberg to be calling me up about what a star I am already right now.
It's still on its way, man.
No, but my thing is like really big, and there's some cool stuff on there. I thought about that idea about I mean, that little MRI thing looks silly, you know. But if you could actually turn it into, I mean, most MRIs cost $150 to most of them probably over $1 million. If somebody can figure out how to do that, like on like something like a cell phone or something, you know, it's like a big.
There's somebody who did that, and they took a 3D view. And how did you choose to go whether Gmail or made it so for us, like, I don't know how. The only people who had started from
there's like a $3,000 MRI.
They're all at Gmail. So we started.
I just found this one. I did a search on MRI because I had to have one.
It's a smaller company. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Anybody who try it,
not fun.
And the extensions.
You know, the machine was, you know, the insurance paid for it, but the machine was enormous. I think like a whole room was like, you know. they told me they're, I think professionals are like an average of $1 million, 1.2,
Click on the pairs of
Yeah. Well, I think it's totally possible. Like, you know, you can do it.
They say, why are they so expensive? $400, $1,000.
It's certainly possible. As well.
$1 million machine, and then they said it took millions of dollars to secure the room so they could.
I mean, for a basic MVP, you can even like
and they said don't throw one in there, and they said you gotta put your cell phone out there, it's gonna fry it.
That kind of thing. You know, that would be probably good to validate or something.
That's what I put out there. Well, a few goofballs, but they probably didn't like it.
Yeah, was this on?
And
I mean, you can even keep it high level and you know, just have a good spec, but just
there's a lot of situations around
Outlook plugin or Chrome extension. Keep it general, and then you get them on. You really, when you work with like outsourcing, you really gotta be like very explicit. Like, exactly how it's going. Like, there's things think about it. Oh yeah, so they have like an email API where what we use them for is they have like webhooks, so when people get emails, they'll like send you a notification.
Mine changes the
So it
world.
makes it really nice.
I mean, you're talking about solving the water problem, the food problem, the energy problem.
So they give us a way to like send emails to the inbox, and they also give us a way.
Your customer sends an email.
I like that.
Yeah, so like they queue it through our, queue it through our platform, and then we send it through their email account and contact side.
Go for the gusto.
And then when they
What is contact side?
Where gusto come from? I remember
oh, okay. So it's just a way to interact with the email server. So it's a basic API for like. Yes, exactly.
So
let's say like you want to like notify somebody when they get like a certain like type of email. Yeah, exactly. It just kind of abstracts away.
There are so many wars right now
and receiving,
and so many
you can set like notifications. So like when I get emails from such and such people, send a notification to my server.
Most people in the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, good luck with it.
We might get you a job.
Well, nice to meet you.
There's a lot of demand for
you know, and for lack of
Scrum Master. Just for knowledge acquisition?
I just had one question. I was going to ask for
I'm getting, I know that certification because that will market.
Then market what? To get a CSPO, to get a Scrum Master job?
We'd love to.
I'm not.
Then why would
you
you
know,
say
we have I have a buddy who's at like a thing called Meteor.
What
Comet
product
Labs.
is David Hawk's
Sorry,
building?
not
Has he
Meteor.
built any products?
That's the other.
Well, that's where you should ask that question.
No,
Yeah, Comet Labs. Have you heard of this?
I know many people like that.
They're like an accelerator for like intelligent machines. Yeah, they're really cool. Like, you know, it's like it's kind of sad because like actually my co-founder and I in college we used to build robots for robotics competitions. We were like really passionate about it, and then just
And people who are really internet and they look like fools and are begging for jobs with those average intellectuals. And average intellectual make you like a fool and I will teach you what to do. And that's what is happening. And
Put me also in the same category. Average teaching the intellectuals. Wait, that's a good idea. Next for the next one, he's not going to be there. So we're going to use this story. We met a guy who said,
another person, I wrote off.
You want some? You know, you take this, you take like 10 of these and give it to the yes.
I'll do the marketing.
Yeah.
Here, I'll go to affiliate fee.
Looking up like a
will depend on how well.
logic analyzer.
How well.
To
Give it to the CSPO. Everybody at the CSPO program, they can tell David, Prabhakar wanted you also to attend the class.
So I don't know, you know, like circumstance kind of took us here and just kind of
I might cancel it, but I might cancel it if maybe I will not $100 back.
Yeah, I mean, not with Nova, it's like probably not for a while, if ever. But I'm passionate about it. You know, when I came out of college, I was trying to decide between going to HP and going to like a couple of different hardware companies.
Have you heard of it? Data flow.
What's that? Yeah.
Sounds boring.
Yeah. I was so excited. I wanted to be in the Bay Area really badly. So I get all excited driving by the tech companies and I go up there to visit. I'm from Southern California, so Simi Valley.
Oh yeah. I lived in Costa Mesa.
Oh, cool. I know Costa Mesa. Yeah, yeah. Towards Ventura, Camarillo, Royal. It's very hot. Yeah.
He's gonna hit some problems.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll check out Hackaday. It sounds awesome.
You cannot mix it wild statements. Now Don gets to see what is actually wild statements. He's like, Prabhakar was so much better. You see? That's a loose cannon.
Yeah.
Be careful with
That's cool. Yeah. Well, let me know if you want to talk to
He's a movie producer extraordinaire.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's producing
I'll
a
look it up.
movie for me. I mean,
Can I
I'm
find it?
expecting more people watching it than Star Wars. You know?
That's awesome.
I haven't put my videos on there, but there's like 64 countries.
Wow.
Right now.
You know what I would say?
That's
I would
awesome.
recommend. I would recommend going.
We're totally gonna check that out. And if you want an intro to Comment Labs, let me know and I'll set that up too.
Okay.
They're both kind of
What's your competition in this field? I mean, did you originate this or like is this your, you know?
So this, so basically, like, there's a couple of different ones. Like, so there's companies that just like give you data on people and say like you like do the personalization yourself, but it's a much lighter weight kind of thing and it costs a lot less.
Whenever anybody says empathy,
So you're gonna take big data. It has to yours is automated.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Or otherwise, it's simply too expensive.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you're dealing with major corporate clientele, in which case you're probably just going to do it individually anyway, right? The guy's going to buy $1 billion worth of stuff from you. You'll take 5 minutes to make an email, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But if you're, the guy was here at Whole Foods and you're sending out
anyway, let's cut all that down.
millions of emails.
Yeah.
But what was the problem? In other words, how do you? I don't understand. How do you get the data? So you're getting data through cookies of other things that they go through? Or
No, we don't do
Google, or
that.
how do
We
you
could,
do that?
but we don't. Especially because we have the extension. No, we use like mostly APIs. Like there's a lot of third-party like data provider APIs that we use that service data to 100%. We'll go through it. We'll make sure it's accurate. We'll structure it. We'll do our own cleaning on it. But
And what kind of mistakes were being made? You're sending obscene stuff or something.
There was some obscene. Obscene stuff wasn't that bad.
Because you know you're not.
That never really got too much.
You're gonna suffer. Staying here,
but like
not
you know,
having network
like
here,
talk about like
not having a job here,
stuff that was
doing
just
CSPO
false.
with David.
Like you know,
But are people insulted? They say these people are spying on me and it's inappropriate.
Yeah, well, when it sounds robotic or like stuff, then they're like, "What is
that?" Was the thing Gmail found is they started looking through keywords. They started going through the vocabulary in Gmail.
Yeah.
And people said, "Hey, they're invading their privacy."
Yeah.
So they cut it out. But you know, I realize you go to a site and you're going to be. Every other site you go to anywhere in the world is going to pop up with that ad for, I guess, weeks until they give up.
Yeah.
Right? But
most people don't know, so it usually goes pretty okay for us. But yeah, like we had one guy who like when we were testing it, we had these like fake personas we were using to send emails, and somehow he like looked at it and really thought about it and like looked at the email and he deduced that like the message was digitally written somehow. Like there's some like clues in there.
I think people figure that out. Like Outbrain, Outbrain. So I'm talking to the founder of Outbrain. And he says people go to him because of trust, but I said, I get a lot of nonsense from Outbrain.
I'm gonna head out.
All right, we'll see.
Yeah, we're going.
But
how long have you been?
Dinkel. Yeah.
9 months in DC.
Cool.
Yeah. You have the other one that's keep on.
Computer engineering. Cal Poly San Luis.
I went to
Yeah.
so I can
Oh, cool. Yeah, my like best friend went to UCSB, so she lived on DP, so we go down there all the time. Yeah.
Look at that, man.
Yeah, they have a great chemistry program.
I have a great MIT program. It's like
And you suck, dog. And you suck.
That's cool.
Right? Check that out. It's taken 18 years for me. I think I could say after 18 years, but what about this guy?
Yeah, just like
He's not
Will
even
at
here for
Nova.ai,
18
it's
months.
really
It's
easy.
not even a year. 8 months or something.
I'm flying out tomorrow morning. Yeah, in fact, that's up, yeah.
Why are you giving it to me?
Yeah.
You flew in just for the talk?
Yeah, and I made a weekend of it. I came in on Friday and just kind of had some fun.
So you guys can two. Okay, so two.
That's cool.
The second one has to be paid. I have to send him the link to pay.
Came to American Six.
He asked me yesterday. I didn't send him.
Yeah.
But yeah, now I'm into this.
So
I
Don,
constantly keep up
do you
with
think that?
Yeah.
and Mountain View based research. I think that stuff is awesome.
Roger.
And Y Combinator is something that
Oh, you guys have
Yeah, yeah.
religiously.
He's
And,
awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, I can connect with them. Is that
Yeah,
really
totally.
Nice.
Yeah,
Okay,
easy
cool.
to find me. And you can also just look up this talk too and you'll find me that way.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually do the survey slides.
Cool.
Did you make the slides?
Yeah,
Then I'll
today.
read them. I'll do them. Okay, cool. Nice, man.
Yeah,
Oh,
cool.
my name is Suki Grill.
Okay, cool. Suki. All right.
Yeah, that's me.
Look up.
Well, I'm outta here. I'll be in touch,
Hey,
man.
Yeah, nice meeting you.
Okay.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, it's awesome.
Good. So,
Yeah, pleasure.
so people, so that, you know, so things pop up on there.
Yeah.
And
You wanna?
I don't know where they're following me through these things somehow, right?
Yeah.
And they don't quite fit
I'll give you a right.
with the websites I go to. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I'm wondering, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
Where they, how, I mean, it's all being done through an algorithm, right? I mean,
Yeah.
nobody's individually doing these things, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Dinkel, what's your first name?
Oh, Will.
Will. Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You like, I was trying to decide what to get, and I was trying to decide between this and the Air and the Pro. What do you think? What's
This
the
thing
advantage?
is like really underpowered.
Is that right? Somebody said the Pro, they get the Pro because it's not that much bigger and it's a lot more powerful.
Yeah, as soon as they come out with like the new generation of this, I think it's even better.
Underpowered meaning the processor.
Yeah, it's really gets slow. And, you know, the worst app for performance, like the biggest resource hog is Chrome, and our product's a Chrome product, so I always have to have like 20 Chrome tabs open, and it just destroys this computer.
But they say the graphics in this is better than the
It's got the
Air.
yeah, because it's got the Retina, which is fantastic. I would not go anything non-Retina.
Really?
Yeah, certainly not.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thanks for the wonderful.
Yeah, this was fun.
Looks like you're gonna go with your friend.
Yeah, yeah. If anybody wants to go grab a beer with us, we're gonna just go down to 6th probably and grab a drink.
So I have to. My sitter is there.
Okay, yeah.
Because wife is not in town.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I have 2 kids too.
Cool. Yeah, man. Well,
Otherwise,
thanks for having me.
Thank you very
Okay.
much. Let's catch up.
It was a lot of fun. Yeah.
I'll be.
You're all gentlemen and scholars, and there aren't many of us left.
Thank you.
That was fantastic.
Thanks.
I've not seen these many questions in a.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, you had a captivated crowd.
That's good, because I was worried I was being like boring.
No,
I was worried myself.
You're watching me, really. Cool. Well, it was fun. It's definitely an experience.
Nice, Will. That's good. And we'll get the recording and everything.
Cool, yeah, feedback welcome. If you want to collect any thoughts,
Okay.
any
Thank
feedback.
you, guys. I'll share with you the online type form.
I appreciate that. That'll be great.
You can see for yourself.
I'm excited about the feedback.
Feedback.
I'm sure it'll be helpful.
Thank you, Will. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Good seeing you.
We'll see you in the city.
Thanks for having me, and nice meeting you guys. Alright, man, here you roll.
Yeah.
What time is it, like 9?
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Can't wait time for that long.
I know, right?
We must be so like exhausted. Maybe you'll slant the accounts.
What's that?